Hello there, men, and welcome to the Masculinism Movement channel, a place for men to be men and talk about masculinity and men's issues. I'm your host, Brian Crawl, and today I'm going to be mansplaining to you about purpose and passion in life without women. But before we get started, could you just hit that like button for me? Because any women who see this are obviously going to hit that dislike button. Thanks. And also, I have a 150th video update for you here. A lot of content has gone by, and we will now be taking a long break from talking about the lesser sex, women, to go back to talking about what really matters, which is masculinity and men's issues. So we're going to be starting that with a video about finding purpose and passion in life without women. One of the biggest challenges men face when they escape the plantation and the matrix, or whatever you want to call it, is how to find meaning in their life without things like love and romance. Since the biological imperative is to reproduce, everything about the paradigm we live in revolves around it. Family values, the romantic ideals of love, sensualism and the pursuit of ultimate orgasmic pleasure, the religious ideals surrounding marriage, the idea of domestic bliss, dress it up however you will, it is all just ways we have of glorifying the biological imperative to reproduce. We are slaves to our instincts, and if our rational mind can't conquer them, it can at least rationalize them with nice-sounding theories and philosophies and ideologies and poetry and such. But when you take all of that meaning we have in our life away, what you are left with is a somewhat empty void that needs to be filled with other forms of meaning. Even men who consider themselves alpha males, who are not slaves to their desires for women, are often more influenced by this social conditioning than they like to think. So for instance, I'm a musician, and looking back, I found that I was more inclined to play music that women would like when I was in my peak mating years, like in my 20s, but before and after that, when I was in my teens and in my 30s, and I was more playing for myself than for women I was dating, I was more focused on percussion and heavy metal guitar, and basically sounds that women generally do not like. And then there was one time when I was talking to a friend of mine who was the leader of a dance troupe, and I said I wanted to learn how to dance because it would make me better with girls. That was back when I was a pickup artist. And he said that's the wrong reason to want to do it. It's about expressing yourself. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, well, there's probably other reasons I would want to learn to dance too, but I just couldn't think of any at the moment, right? I was primarily motivated by my sexual instincts. And I think a lot of dancers and musicians can be at times, especially, during certain dances or during love songs, obviously. But even in instances where it's not so obvious, our biological imperative influences us, and it affects our motivations on a greater scale than we realize. For in much of what men do in life, their motivations and goals are really to fulfill this biological imperative. Trying to become successful in business, building up status, buying a large house. These are things men wouldn't do if they weren't interested in reproducing. Our biological imperative to reproduce hijacks our life purpose and basically tells us what we ought to be and do. So when you lose interest in female partnership and reproduction, when you no longer want marriage and family, you've realized that the white picket fence idea wasn't even yours and you don't know why you wanted it in the first place, and you begin questioning other things in your life and realize that they probably weren't your idea either, and you aren't sure why you wanted them or what gave you those ideas either. And you think to yourself, if this isn't who I really am, if this isn't my true purpose, if those aren't my true passions, then what are? What do I really want in life? The reality we thought we knew is no longer there. Answers we thought we had are gone now, leaving us with questions we haven't asked in a long time. It makes us feel insecure, like a child again. We had always relied upon these stories, this narrative, these things that we told ourselves, things that we were told by our parents and by others that we are all supposed to be. We told ourselves we wanted these things that everyone else wanted in life. We told ourselves these things for so long, and yet having them never seemed to make us happy or result in the dream life we were supposed to have. So what the fuck are we supposed to do now? Well, now you have to ask yourself, what is it you really want in your life that is for you and only you? Imagine, for instance, that desert island scenario we used to play with each other as kids, when we could actually imagine that we could be happy living out our lives on a desert island if we only had a few of our favorite things there. Well, what is it you need to be happy without the companionship of a life partner? Are you sure to take your daily dose of red pills consistently so that you can stay out of the matrix? The red pill is a medicine that only works if you take it in the right dosage and never miss a dose. One missed dose of red pills can mean turning back into a blue-pilled limp dick simp under the sharp heel of the evil feminist matriarchy. So make sure you are subscribed and that your subscription is set to all so that you never have to miss one of your daily doses of the red pill, because I'm releasing hot new red pill content every single fucking day just to make sure you don't have to. So make sure you will actually get notified when they are released, because you know that YouTube doesn't want to show you things that don't align with its liberal leftist feminazi agenda, and it shadow bans content creators like me who use free speech to speak out against these politics and stand up for the rights of the oppressed masses of men like you and me. And if you want to help me keep fighting the good fight, please donate using the PayPal link below so that I can keep this work alive, because I simply cannot do it without the support of viewers like you. And be sure to spread these messages and share these videos with any other men you know who could use a nice big dose of red pills. You are now at a place where you can truly discover your real passions and give your life an even greater purpose than before. Maybe you'll realize that your career goals were mostly motivated by this social conditioning and cultural programming to become a successful businessman so that you could be high status enough to have a trophy wife and be a good husband and become a family man and pass on your genes, just like the cultural memes and heroes that you've always talked about in whatever culture you're in. It's really the same everywhere. It's life in the matrix. And now that you are free, you have to create your own purpose in life. You are the one who gets to say what the meaning of your life is, and no one else. So what are you really passionate about that has nothing to do with women? For me, I've realized that my idea of success is different than what it used to be. Now that I'm really doing it just for myself and not to impress a girl, I can take my company in another direction, which is exactly what I'm doing with this project, and is just one aspect of many to come. I also realized that I didn't want to play romantic sounding music anymore, rather the opposite. I like angry, explosive music that women simply wouldn't want to sit through, but which makes me feel fucking awesome. I get so pumped up when I'm playing that shit, and I know that having a woman around would only stifle me, because they hate hearing those kinds of sounds. I know, because I've lived with them before, and I would almost never get to practice my instruments unless I wanted to play some sort of sweet sounding love songs for them. And when it comes to cooking, which is like my favorite thing to do, I've been realizing for some time when I was dating that I didn't really like cooking for women and having to cater to their poor tastes and poor appetites. I am much more passionate about cooking when I'm doing it just for me. And I enjoy making feasts for myself every single fucking day. I just ate some delightful Asian food that I made myself for lunch. I'm planning a roast quail feast for myself later today. I made myself a roast duck the other day. I'm, making myself all of these feasts. You might have seen the picture of me making a stew with a goat head in the community section. And, it's great that I'm able to do all this stuff for myself that I didn't used to do when I was living with women and having to cook for both myself and them. And they wouldn't want food that was so hearty, or they wouldn't want to eat certain types of meat, or they wouldn't want to eat spicy food, or they had just a really shitty palate and would make insensitive remarks and wouldn't appreciate my cooking. It really was a drag having to cook for someone else who doesn't know how to cook. Cooking for women today, since they do not know how to cook themselves, is a real shitty thing to have to do, because people who do not cook can never truly appreciate the food that you are making and generally do not have very well developed palates. even if they say they are a foodie. And so these days I get to make whatever the fuck I want for myself. I get really excited about making these different dishes like the quail that I'm going to make later today. And I'm just so glad that I don't have to share my passion and culinary art with girls anymore, because I realized that they didn't help it, but rather the opposite. So while it may not feel comfortable to have to be so alone all the time, while it may get lonely at times, and it may be depressing that you can't rely upon the romantic ideology of our social conditioning that really comes from gynocentrism. And if you have high libido, it is not going to always feel comfortable to deny that and your biological imperative. But all that being said, it will actually be a lot more fun to be without women than you might think. To discover even deeper, more authentic passions, and rediscover and redefine your life purpose and all of your goals and dreams. And while you may be feeling lost and despairing and confused and uncertain of what to do with yourself now, as you will probably, at certain times in life, it is only temporary. You are going to get yourself back on track with a new set of goals and hopes and dreams and a new sense of passion and purpose in no time. It's just going to take some meditation and contemplation and some inner work, some soul searching to figure out what it is you really want in life. And maybe instead of a house with a white picket fence, you would prefer to have multiple smaller apartments or condos in multiple different cities that are your favorites. Or maybe you decide to get yourself an RV for on land and maybe a yacht for in the sea, or maybe just a passport and a lot of rooms like I used to do. You'll find that you actually have a lot more options for things to be passionate about than if you had a woman you were chained to. And there are things that are going to be even more fulfilling than anything you might have been doing with a woman, because of the fact that you are living more authentically and true to yourself. That concludes this video. Thanks for listening. I hope I mansplained that good enough for you. If you like what you heard, please click the like button. And if you feel you gained some value from this video and would like to give some back, please do so with the PayPal link below, because your support helps fund me doing this work and fight the good fight for men like you. If you are ready to take the red pill and wake up from the matrix and the matriarchy controlling it and learn everything you need to know about female on male sexism, get your copy of my newly released book called Misandry Exposed, on sale now for a special price that won't last long. So check it out by clicking the link below. And otherwise, you can stay tuned for my next video coming out tomorrow. And otherwise, take care of yourselves, men, because no woman out there is going to.